Okay, so for the purposes of the recording, today's lesson is all about making a composite using the Pixlr editing program, and then answering questions if you're having a hard time, like even just getting images into the Pixlr program. Is there anybody in this class that was unable to load images into the Pixlr editing program? And you can either type into the chat or you can just unmute and talk to me if you want. Okay, so it sounds and looks like this class was able to get pictures at least into the program, which is great, because I did have a couple questions from other classes where they were like, how do you do that? So it sounds like you guys were able to do that. I am going to go over some simple steps for the purposes of the recording, just in case. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually put pictures onto your computer to make them accessible when you're using a program like Pixlr. How I do it is probably not the easiest, because again, technology is rough for me, okay? So I probably do it the more complicated way, but it's a way that works. So I'm going to share my screen, and if you're typing into the chat, when I'm actively teaching, it's hard for me to read that chat. So I will go back and read what you guys are typing, because I see some of you have info you're trying to get to me. If it's something that's important, you might need to unmute and say, hey, Mrs. Kivett, I really need your attention right now. Otherwise, I'll go back and read the chat later. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and show you how I get images into my Pixlr, onto my computer so I can load them into Pixlr. Okay, so like I said, this is probably not the easiest way, but it works. It's how I do it. So I email myself pictures. So here's a picture that I'm going to be using today. I emailed it to myself. It's right here. And then I click download. And then here it is down here in the download folder. I click onto that. And then I right click and the save as option pops up. I hit save as. I rename it. I'm naming this one Sarah because that's my daughter Sarah. And I put it into a folder that is on my desktop called photography. I open that and then I save it. I've already saved it, so I'm not going to save it again. But that's how I get it onto my computer. And at that point then I am able to I'm able to access it through Pixlr. If you haven't put it either in your Google Drive or into a folder on your desktop, I'm not really sure how else you would get them into Pixlr. It's possible if you're using your phone, there might be an easier way, but I would encourage you to not do your editing on your phone, just because it's a lot harder to see what you're doing. So I would be always doing your editing stuff on a laptop, or at the very minimum, your Chromebook. Okay, so that's how I get my pictures onto my desktop. Now, what I'm going to show you is, when I taught this to you guys last time, I was using my Chromebook, and I discovered that within using the Chromebook and trying to Zoom and teach and share my screen, the Chromebook just couldn't handle all of those functions at the same time. So I discovered in desperation that that program that's automatically loaded onto your Chromebook is available on any computer. You just have to get onto their website. So I just looked for Pixlr E, found it, opened it up, and it works basically the same as it works on your Chromebook. So if you have a bigger computer or a faster computer with, you know, a bigger hard drive or whatever that you want to use at home, feel free to do that. You can access all of this stuff on that computer. And if you're putting your images into Google Drive, you can log onto your Google Drive on any computer too, and it's really easy to have everything in one place. All right, so like I said, we're going to be doing a composite. So the first thing you have to do is open an image that you're going to be using. Your background image needs to be the image you're going to see more of. So I'm going to open excuse me, hold on. I don't know if it'll let me do it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do this kind of backwards really quick, because this isn't what I want to do. Okay, so I'm opening this image. So I hit open image, I selected the image, and then I hit apply, and here it is. However, this is not going to be my background image. This is going to be the image I'm pasting into a different image. So I'm gonna go over here to, I think you have to have this open before you can get into the stock photos. So I'm gonna go over here. I don't know if you guys are aware, but if you go up to File and you click on File, there's this thing down here called Stock Search. And it's really cool. It's a feature I don't have in Photoshop as far as I know, at least the version of Photoshop I have. And this is cool because there's all kinds of images already preloaded into this program that you can mess around with. So I'm gonna pull up Stock Search. I specifically want a frozen snow bubble. And I'm going to use, let's see, which one do I want to use? I'm going to use this one. So I just click full HD and I hit apply. And up pops my frozen snow bubble. So that's going to be what we call the background image. This is the locked image that we're not going to mess around with. This is what everything is going to go into, okay? Now, what you need to do now to be able to actually create this composite is start adding layers. We're only going to do one layer, but you could technically add a whole bunch of different layers and images and put them all together. But we're just going to do one. And I'm going to go over here and click the plus button. And I'm going to add an image to this already stock photo. And that's where I'm going to add Sarah. So I'm going to open that up. And there she is. Now, she's in front because she's above the background image. I'm seeing Sarah. That's what I'm seeing. And I want to be able to resize her to the size I want her in that image. And so what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to make everything a little smaller so I can see the whole. When you have this outline up on your screen, then you're able to actually see the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go over here, these three little dots. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to transparency, and I'm going to bring the transparency of Sarah way down so that I can see the bubble behind her. And then this is really important. I'm going to resize her, but while I'm resizing her, I have to be clicked on fixed. If I'm on free, it could distort her shape, and I want to keep her shape the same. So I'm going to click on fixed, and then I'm just going to pull from the side and make her smaller. And then I'm going to reposition her into the bubble where I want her. Okay, so I'm at the end of the day, she's going to be floating in this bubble. Okay. All right, so after I do that, I'm going to resize the whole thing. You can do that over here in this little slider tool. You can resize your image to fit the screen better. I'm using a mouse today, and so I just use the little scrolly button on the mouse. I'm sure it has an official term, I don't know it, to resize my image, okay? Now, at this point, I need Sarah's picture to be full transparency so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, at this point, does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Can somebody say yes?
I said no.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Okay. All right, so it looks like you guys are tracking with me, which is great. Now, I don't know if some of you are like trying to do this at the same time as me, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And then I'm going to, depending on what time it is, either ask you to experiment with it while I stay on Zoom to answer questions, or experiment with it on your own. And then when we have class tomorrow, at that point, you'll check in with me, okay, and ask questions if you need to. All right, so now what we need to do is get rid of, so this Sarah went to Vegas last weekend, and that's why she's all dressed up. That's her homecoming dress that she didn't get to wear to homecoming like everybody else, right? But they went out for a super fancy dinner. They took this picture. I thought it was really beautiful. She's my daughter, so of course she's like the most beautiful creature on earth to me. But I want to put her inside that bubble, which means I need to get rid of all of these things because I don't want to make her so transparent that I can't see her. But I don't want these things messing up the picture. So I've got to basically erase all of these things. So I'm going to go over here to the scissors tool, which is called cutout or mask, okay? I'm going to click on that. And remember, ads always pop up in this program. And I'm going to go over here to the draw mask, and I'm going to click on that. Now there's two functions or two modes, add to mask and remove from mask. I'm going to change my brush size so that I have a nice big brush size for my starting point. And I'm going to do this function, which is remove from mask. Okay, I'm removing some of my top layer. And if you saw, I just click and drag. And what happens is that I start to erase that top image. And I'm going to use the really big brush for now to get rid of all of the stuff that I don't need to fine tune. Like, I know I can just erase that. Now let's say I mess up. Whoops, I just erased the middle of Sarah. Darn it, I go up to add to mask and I just go back over it. When it's green, I'm adding from the image on top. When it's red, I'm taking away from the image on top. Okay, and I know I'm not gonna want her legs in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and take those away and all the way up here. Now, this is when we really start fine tuning this process, okay? Because I wanna get rid of everything that's in these little tiny spots, and I wanna get really close to her so that I've erased everything. So I need to make the image bigger so that I can really see what I'm doing. And then I need to go up and I need to change my brush size. Now I like to stay in the fuzzy brush. These that are clearer are a more like sharp line, and I like to keep kind of a blurred line. It makes it look a little bit more realistic in my opinion. I'm gonna go to 50 and I'm gonna just go right up. And if you wanna move while you're here, go to the hand tool and that will help you move around while you're zoomed in. Okay, so I've moved around and now I have to go back up to this and I have to re-choose my draw tool. And now I'm gonna get in pretty close. Oops. So I need to make sure I'm on remove from mask, make sure I'm getting the red. I'm gonna go in pretty close and really start taking out all the little things that are super close to her. And this takes a bit. Oh, I've got an ad here. And I'm guessing that my face looks really weird while I edit because I can't see what I'm doing. So be kind. All right, so now I accidentally zoomed out instead of using my hand tool to move it. You need to go back up, pick draw. Okay, you gotta make sure you reselect all the things you're working on. Okay, and I'm not gonna get it perfect right now. I'm just gonna kind of show you a rough of what I would wanna do. I wanna get around all the way around here. Boom, 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 you get the idea, right? Okay, and then I would pick an even smaller brush, like a 20, and really work in here. And this is where you might go back and forth a little bit, where you're using the remove and the add tool until you have it exactly how you want it. I'm just gonna do a rough here. So like I just accidentally deleted more of her arm than I probably would want to. So I would go back with the green tool and really get this perfect if I was doing this for anything other than a tutorial. But you kind of get up in there, you get the idea, Oops, I just deleted her hand. I don't like that. So I'm gonna go back in with this one, put the hand back in there. And I'm gonna make my brush bigger. I'm gonna go to say 100 and come in over here where I can delete more pieces. Oops, I just took out part of her arm. Oh well. And I'm gonna back up and roughly it's where I want it. I would still be playing with this a little bit. I'm too close to her arm on one side and all of that. I would play with that. Now what you have, whoa, I don't like that. Now what you need to do is look at it as a whole. Is there anything that you missed? Kind of go back over, make sure there's nothing you missed. And then look at it and go, gosh, does it look realistic? Not really, obviously she's not really floating in a bubble, but if I now make her transparency match the image I've put her on top of, that will really help. So the image that she's on is a very like foggy, translucent-y looking image, and she's super sharp and in focus. So if I just go back to these 3 dots over here, and I just bring her transparency down, I start to give us a little bit more of a realistic, you know, artsy concept of the image. Okay, so that is a super, super simple and easy like crash course on how to make a composite. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do now. All right, so it is 11:34. I'm going to stay on Zoom. You can stay on Zoom and practice, or you can get off Zoom and come back on. I'm going to stay on for 10 more minutes. What I'd like you guys to do is to actively work on trying this out. So if we were in a classroom right now, I would say, okay, everybody turn to your computers now, you experiment with it, see if you can make a composite. That's what I want you to do, but do at home and then check back in with me. So I'm gonna stay on Zoom for 10 minutes. You can stay here with, you know, just your name in a black box and work and try to make a composite. If it's hard for you to be on Zoom and use the application for some reason, the program, then go ahead and log off of Zoom, work for 10 minutes on trying it, and then log back on at the end of 10 minutes. Okay, so in 10 minutes, everybody's gonna check in with me and either say, yep, I'm getting it, or no, it's not working for me, okay? Does that make sense? Can everybody type into the chat that you understand what your assignment is right now? Okay, great. So you're not leaving class right now. You're just working on making a composite, and in 10 minutes, which is 9 minutes now, at 11:45, you're all gonna check in and let me know how it's going, okay? All right, so you have 10 minutes, work on this project and check back in.